That's right. We have part 3 of our interviews at the NRA Annual Meetings. We talked with Maj Toure, the founder and co-founder of EmPOWERed, and Dana Loesch. Stay tuned. Another episode of TrendChat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, it's all the same name, TrendChat 24/7. And if you want to read some of my articles on Politichicks, just go to politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And speaking of the Politichicks, they are resuming their book tour through the Carolinas right now. And as I mentioned yesterday, I will be at one of those dates on May the 8th in North Charleston. Whoever's listening, if you're able to make it, come by, buy a book. And that book is A Clarion Call to Political Activism. You can get it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And the book is, I would say, it's 300 pages of articles from the vast number of Politichicks contributors, which I am one of, and one of my articles about becoming a delegate to go to the Republican National Convention in Cleveland last year is one of the articles in the book. So it's not only that because my article is in it that I encourage you to buy the book. I just think it's a great book altogether. Because it touches on a number of issues. Like, actually, the section where my article is in the book talks about activism. So you have other articles talking about political activism, and it goes on in other subjects as well, such as education, healthcare, social issues, religion, or Islam, or politics in general. So, yeah, like I said, it's over 300 pages. I think you would definitely I will hope it'll be somewhat inspirational in a sense of just kind of showing where you have, just people who are passionate about defending, whether it is the Second Amendment or just conservative principles in general, and kind of just shows that you don't have to be a superstar in a sense, or you just need to actually care and want to do something about it. So, and I mean, that's me. Just because you hear me talking behind this microphone, I mean, I'm no superstar. I mean, I'm I'm not big celebrity. It's just someone who was able to have a platform that I am definitely grateful for, and I'm able to talk behind this mic right now, and I appreciate everyone who are listening right now and have been supported. Even when they were supporting me when I was running for delegate last year, and even in this venture as well. So, but it's not like I myself am some big shot or something like that. That's definitely not the case. So, I drive down these roads as a truck driver, because that's my profession right there, is driving. I'm a truck driver. So, and speaking of that, we are coming to you from Milford, Connecticut today, actually, and that's where we're broadcasting out of. And thanks to Spreaker for having, the platform for me to go on to do a podcast like this. So, yeah, so didn't mean to really go on a rant about that, but the book a clearing call to political activism. It's definitely it's a good book to read as far as just understanding it, and that anybody can be an activist in a way, because all you have to do is just care, really, and want to do it. So, like I said in the beginning, we talked to Maj Toure and the founder and co-founder of EmPOWERed, who are Antonia Okafor and Joanna Rodriguez, and Dana Loesch at the NRA Annual Meetings in Atlanta. And I just, one thing I was thinking about as far as when we spoke to Antonia in particular, she posted something from the Atlanta Journal Constitution, and it had an article about just kind of just saying that where are the black people at the NRA annual meetings and whatnot, and just kind of then kind of making the argument, trying to say like, well, why are black people shy to join the NRA or even be associated, with the NRA or whatnot. And look, don't get me wrong, it's not like there were, a lot of black people there. Okay, understandable, but it's not the fact that like there were none there. They made, I think one sentence in there said they counted 4. Okay, now that's not right. There were definitely more than 4 people there. So 4 black people there. So that's, but that Atlanta Journal Constitution is, like pretty much like all the other media outlets, they just want to push this narrative and far as about black people and trying to, even in the story, just picking people to show their fear of the NRA or whatever like that, or just guns in general. And it's kind of like what I talked to Coley on the War yesterday in yesterday's program about, the reception and it just, we just need more people and just to be, out there as far as showing that, the Second Amendment is for everyone, not just for one race or one political party. The right to self-defense should not be a political issue. It really shouldn't. Everyone should have the right to self-defense. So, but I'm thinking about this, not only with the NRA, but just in general, when you talk about whether it's a conservative organization or any political organization that's connected with conservatism, and then the fact that you have a very low number of just black conservatives or black Republicans in general, and then every time, when like CPAC or something like that, or any other event where you have a large group of conservatives that meet up, you have these major news outlets that come out and ask about why black people are not, joining up or hesitant, or in some cases they just say just afraid or whatever like that. And it's one thing. I've been thinking about this for a second though, but when you have, especially in the black community, when you have so many of these progressive organizations out here that are just outwardly pandering towards black people, and you have all these other liberals out here, and they're just like really just pandering to the point of just absurdity towards black people, and and then you have a good number of black people join in and all that. And then when you look at something maybe like the NRA, or maybe, I don't know, maybe Heritage or something like that, that you don't really have that to where it, because people are actually being treated equally. We're not out here just to say, okay, we want to have this black section of people in our organization. No, we just want you to join like everyone else joins and just kind of like be like everyone else. But when you contrast that with how a lot of black people are pursued by these liberal organizations, it makes it seem like these conservative organizations are not trying to reach out because they're not doing the overhanded pandering that all these other organizations do towards black people. They just treat you like everyone else. And so when you have black people who are basically all conditioned to expect to be treated special in a way than everyone else, like you should do something more for us in a way, because as opposed to everyone else that you have in your organization or whatnot. And I think that sort of thinking is what probably keeps a lot of black people from joining something like the NRA, because they are just kind of, it seems like a lot are just waiting for that obligatory pandering that they've received from these other, liberal organizations that just go, just go overboard with trying to get you to join. So, anyway, I didn't want to take up too much time, but it's just something that was on my mind, and kind of, well, and speaking of that, actually the first interview is with Maj Toure, who was with Black Guns Matter, and kind of just going back to where the right to self-defense shouldn't be a political issue. Everyone should have the right to to defend themselves, and Maj Toure is out here is trying to educate the black community who, as I've kind of mentioned just a minute ago, just have been conditioned to be afraid of guns and to actually not look to defend themselves in a way, just basically to depend on the state in other, not only in as far as economics and with welfare or whatnot, but now black people have, for a majority of black people right now, kind of have this sense that they shouldn't have guns, that they should be afraid of guns. And Maj Toure is out here trying to reverse that. And here is my interview with him. I'm Brian Bledsoe, and we are here with Maj Toure. Did I get that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Maj Toure. What's going on?
All right. He's with Black Guns Matter. Yep. And just give us details about your organization.
Well, Black Guns Matter, we're a firearms safety and training organization. We deal with, urban areas specifically, but not limited to. We just want people in those urban demographics to have a better understanding of safety, their Second Amendment rights, the law, proper training, and things like that. So we just go around the country. Right now we're on a 50-state tour. We're letting people know in tougher areas that these are human rights. These aren't, government-given rights, and because a lot of times that disconnect happens. So that's pretty much what we are, and that's the 50-state tour we're on.
So I guess how the reception has been in the urban communities when you're coming in talking about guns?
The reception has been amazing. There's firearms in the urban community already. What's missing is the education and the information. So what we do is, by adding those things to it, it puts people on that path, and it spreads out a whole lot better, because the tool is already there, but a certain level of understanding is missing. So when the understanding and the information behind the tool and the proper thought process is there, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, so I know the general question I've asked everyone is about why protecting the Second Amendment is so important.
Protecting the Second Amendment is extremely important because it's the one amendment that allows you to defend all of your other beliefs, your other values. So if you believe in something and you can't defend that belief, then you probably don't have that belief. Because if it's, if you gathering supplies and you don't have a means to defend them, you just gathering supplies for the tougher person or the person that has a means to take what you have. So the Second Amendment is key in that, and that's why it's not the 20th Amendment, the 90,000th Amendment is second. The right to express yourself and then the right to defend what you express, and that's very important.
So, what all you have coming up as far as, I know you say you was on a tour, and do you have anything else coming up?
Yeah, we have our next class is in Phoenix. We'll be in Phoenix, Arizona, May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. Then we'll be back in Philadelphia the following day for another class there. And that's just, we're just going to keep mashing, keep moving forward with all of the different cities and states. If anybody that wants to support what we're doing, we do have a GoFundMe page, GoFundMe.com/Black Guns Matter. Our official website's officialblackgunsmatter.com. And we're just going to keep mashing, keep doing the work, keep waking a sleeping giant that, certain politicians would have urban demographics stay asleep. We're just going to keep waking people up. That's the goal.
And where can everyone, contact you through social media and all that?
Yeah, everybody can, if they can remember our website, officialblackgunsmatter.com, all of our contacts are there, but my direct Twitter is at Maj Toure. That's my Instagram as well, MAJTOURE.
Okay, I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Maj Toure for joining us, and definitely would like to attend one of those tour dates. And like I said, he will be in Phoenix on tomorrow actually, on Cinco de Mayo. So yeah, 'cause I was just thinking about, as a truck driver, I'm able to try to make some of these events somewhere. So I don't know, maybe I might make it up to Philadelphia sometime or whatnot. So, but definitely am looking forward to hopefully, maybe to attend something at one of these states, and really, glad to see someone out here trying to get a more awareness, especially in the urban communities, as you mentioned. So now, speaking of getting awareness in another area, we talked with the founder and co-founder of EmPOWERed, and they're trying to empower, like the name, women in the college context, to actually be proud to have a gun on campus, So, it's definitely in thinking about as far as college campuses, and Antonia and Joanna has been out here fighting with, as far as with the campus carry. They've been fighting to get this passed, to have this, one, this is our right to have the Second Amendment, to have the right to self-defense. It shouldn't stop once you get on campus. I mean, it's still your right. So why is it all of a sudden not your right once you get on campus? So, so these two have come together and have started EmPOWERed. And here is my interview with them. Hello, this is Politichicks.com here at the NRA Annual Meetings, and we are here with the founder and co-founder of EmPOWERed, Antonia Okafor and Joanna Rodriguez. How y'all doing?
I'm doing well.
Doing good.
Doing well.
So, this is a new initiative, and actually, I'm going to let y'all explain everything about it.
Yeah, so we started EmPOWERed. Basically, for me, it was because as a campus carry activist, I realized that young women were really going to be the future of not only the gun industry, but with campus carry and pushing that movement. And so, we both decided, to team up because, Joanna's with Turning Point USA, and they're doing amazing things on their side as well. And so we brought our skills together and realized that we could really make a difference with young women on campus, because there's definitely an assault on young women in this generation from feminists who want to bring them to their side and say that, guns are evil and they should fear guns, when really guns are there to protect them.
Absolutely, I agree, and I'm here to help Antonia more on the fieldwork side since I have a lot of experience with that with Turning Point, and our goal is just to get college-age women plugged in and unafraid to go to the range by themselves and pick up a gun by themselves and just be educated and trained on that aspect.
You know, it's funny because we spoke at CPAC. I spoke both of you, and I know we talked about it a little bit, Antonia, but, you know, Joanna was didn't want to talk much about it, but I kind of figured that's what she was talking about.
Called her out. Wow.
It wasn't like that, but
It was a secret. I wasn't super out there with it yet. I wanted it to be Antonia's thing, me be in the background, so I didn't want to talk about it yet.
Oh, it's okay. I was just remembering that. But so how has the networking gone here as far as for EmPOWERed?
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing just to see how eager people are to join it, and they're excited about the idea of it. I didn't even realize so many people were, that's the next step for them, is that they see that void of marketing to those women who, I see it as a lifetime investment. You get women there when that's the first time they can carry, and then they become young professionals, and then they become moms, and then have families, and then those families are influenced by them. I work at a gun range, and the one thing the owner always says is that if you can get the mom, you get the whole family, because without the mom, none of the kids are coming. So that's exactly what the mindset is, that even for the gun manufacturers, is that they're trying to, more women in general are becoming the emerging market of gun ownership, but what a better way to really get them at the beginning of their phase of gun ownership, and that's usually when they're young.
Okay. I guess not to get overly political, but I do want to ask, so what are your expectations as far as protecting the Second Amendment, given that now that we have Republicans in the majority of both chambers of Congress, and now we have President Trump in the White House?
Yeah, I think it's really easy, and it is, but that's exactly why I voted for Trump. As personally, this is not an EmPOWERed, not with an EmPOWERed organization, but, me personally, I did it because as an activist, I felt that he, especially being backed by the NRA, was going to be the best person for, especially against Hillary, the best person for the Second Amendment. Now, I also am, as an activist, I also see both sides in the fact that there are people who will say that they're for our values, not saying about President Trump, but even more so on the state level, that they're Republican in name only, and that they won't really stand up for all people, and that includes students, that includes people who are poor and can't afford different types of access to guns or licensing. So I think it's really important to make sure that, yes, we're at a great position, but we also have to keep those politicians accountable. And we don't want things that are happening like what happened in Florida, where, campus carry was basically put on the table once again from other Republicans and saying no to it. So we have to keep bringing those people out to the forefront. I called out Nathan Deal, the Governor Deal, at my speech yesterday or a couple days ago, because I think it's important that they know that they're on notice, and then we are watching them. We're watching them, and they're not going to get away with that just as much as Democrats are not going to get away with that. So,
yep.
I absolutely agree.
Thank you, Joanna. I'm not really here just to say, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm just really here to back up anything she says.
Well, the general question I've been asking everyone is why protecting the Second Amendment is so important.
So for me, I see it as important with my background in Venezuela. A few years ago in Venezuela, they did an arms pickup and decided that citizens wouldn't be able to have weapons or guns or anything like that. And now what we're seeing is that the government has distributed over 500,000 guns, rifles to untrained, probably very poor, uneducated people just to fight on behalf of the government. And those people have no sort of law enforcement training, no sort of military training, and they're going out and they're killing the protesters that are just trying to fight for liberty and trying to get rid of the socialism there. So that's why fighting for Second Amendment in America is so important to me, because I'd never want that to happen in the United States.
Well, I'm going to say, you mentioned something about that on Fox Business about Venezuela.
Yes, absolutely. It's really sad what is happening there, and I'm really glad I got to have some exposure to other people who might have not heard about what's happening in Venezuela. So.
It's always, and my parents are from Nigeria, and they also realize, the power and the freedom that we have, the special freedom that we have here in America. Really, it shouldn't be a special freedom. It's a God-given right to everybody. But we, for the most part, we champion the Second Amendment because it's about self-defense. Chris Cox yesterday was on NRA TV, and I love what he said. He said, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. The Second Amendment is about self-defense, and it really is about that. And it's just the Supreme Court just backed up what the Constitution says with the right to keep and bear arms. And, state by state, we're still having issues with that. But with things like the National Reciprocity Law that the NRA is trying to push, and the Hearing Protection Act, I think those things are going to bring it back to the forefront of, hey, our Second Amendment rights are pivotal to us as Americans, but we're pivotal to freedom and being able to spread freedom in places like Venezuela and everybody else and everywhere else because they see us as an example. Yeah.
Well, I have two more questions.
Okay.
As far as how long have you been into guns? Has it been since birth or what?
No, I did not grow up with guns. In fact, I grew up and I also admitted that in my speech that, I voted for Obama twice. And when you vote for a Democrat, usually you just kind of take in all the other values in with you when you vote for someone like that. And so I just assumed I was anti-gun. I think it didn't hit home until, for one, I realized that, I'm definitely not a Democrat. I don't have their values. I'm more of a conservative libertarian because I value freedom and freedom for everybody else, not just myself. But it also, realizing that as a student, as a campus carry activist, I became an activist because I knew my personal freedom was at stake and being able to choose my right to self-defense on campus, especially as a woman. So I think that's kind of that was my transformation and realizing that the Second Amendment was important, not for just me, but for other people.
For me, my dad has always had guns and rifles at the house. I never really used them until, I'd say, high school. He kind of took me to the range and showed me a few things. And then for my 21st birthday, he paid for my concealed carry and for my first handgun. So it was something that I kind of grew up with. And although my parents weren't very openly political with me, I always knew that they were pro-guns. So
That's awesome.
That's good, Dad.
Yes, absolutely.
So give us all, I guess, website, social media, and everything.
Yeah, so you can follow EmPOWERed on Twitter and Instagram. It's EmPOWERed_2A, and we're also on Facebook, just EmPOWERed. But then also you can follow me at Antonia _Okafor, also on Instagram as well.
Okay. And thank you to Antonia and Joanna for joining us. And, I'm thinking about the next event we'll probably be covering. I have a suspicion that we'll probably be talking with them again in probably the next month or so. But right now, we're going to go straight into our interview with Dana Loesch. And actually, she was talking about his NRA carry guard. And, don't let me mess it all up. I'm going to let her get more detail about it, and here's our interview with her. Hello, this is PolitiChicks.com. This is Brian Bledsoe, and I am here with Dana Loesch. She is the national spokeswoman for the NRA and also a great host for TheBlaze. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming out. Your very first NRA Annual Meetings. Awesome.
Yes, and I just want to ask, I saw your Periscope about, asking for your haters to come out, because actually I posted a tweet a couple of days ago about this article I'm writing on my dad, and all of a sudden it just blew up in something crazy. And I just want to ask, so what happened yesterday?
Well, so what ended up, and by the way, I saw your tweet, and I saw the people commenting on it. It kind of went from there. Whenever you, what gets me is that anytime anybody talks of empowerment, individual empowerment, being able to handle your own self-defense and not have to rely on someone else to save you, to bail you out, to protect your life or the life of your loved ones, there's always this crazy, enraged response from the anti-gun lobby. And they're not gun control, they're anti-gun. Any abridgment of the Second Amendment is a nullification of the Second Amendment. These are individuals that say things like the Shannon Watts of the Moms Demand, whatever. They've said that any firearm that fires 10 rounds a minute is considered an assault weapon, while simultaneously arguing that they want to ban assault weapons. So they don't want just gun control, they want to ban guns. They're not for gun safety because the behavior that they exhibit online and the language they use and the other behavior they encourage is unsafe. They're promoting ignorance, which is unsafe. The NRA and Second Amendment practitioners, we educate, we inform, we engage and teach and instruct and train. It's all about education, and we educate kids through NRA's Eddie Eagle just about how this is how you safely handle a firearm. This is what you do if you see a firearm. And all of that is about education, which is the antidote to ignorance. These people, through their promotion of propaganda and scare tactics, they actually make things more unsafe. They don't like safety at all. They don't do anything to help with, for instance, Project Child Safe, which distributes free locks throughout police departments across the country. They don't do anything to assist with any of that. They definitely don't support NRA Carry Guard, which is all about training and insurance, and they attack people who do, though. So their actions and the things that they say and the things that they promote are antithetical to absolutely everything that they preach. They want to ban all firearms. They want to ban all education on firearms, and so that's why safety isn't really important to them. That's why knowledge about firearms isn't really important to them, because they want to ban them. So what's the use for those things?
So I know you mentioned Carry Guard. That's something that started just recently, right?
Yeah, we launched it just actually this week. The first big sign-up's happening this weekend at NRA Annual Meetings, and this is huge. This is something that the millions of NRA members have been asking for quite a long time. And of course, creating a program like this and identifying and bringing on the teachers that we have, the instructors that we have. I mean, these guys are amazing. I mean, you have Green Berets, Navy SEALs, retired Navy SEALs, retired Green Berets. These are guys who are coming out of active duty. And one of the really cool things about NRA Carry Guard is it provides a way for combat veterans. They have something that they can immediately fit into as they transition from active duty to civilian life. And it's amazing because they can put those skills that they have learned and utilized in stressful situations, and they can inform civilians about how to best handle themselves and train with a firearm, so that if, heaven forbid, the moment comes where they are one of the 2.3 million instances of defensive gun use a year, they'll be ready.
Now, I actually want to ask a little bit more details, because actually, is it like insurance and training?
It's insurance and training. So you have the training, which is modernized concealed carry training. And one of the things that I think sets this training apart, speaking as a woman, is that this is, and I love my men out there, but us ladies, we carry a little bit differently, we kind of have to. Whereas men can wear looser clothes and y'all wear business jackets and all of that, women don't necessarily do that all the time. We carry in different places. And so one of the things that Carry Guard does is it recognizes that, and it also teaches to that with its female students, which I've never seen a concealed carry program do that before. And they talk about how to quickly access your firearm in those particular areas and make it to where you can immediately get into a defensive position, which is hugely important. That's one of the things that I really like about it. But the training it's modernized concealed carry training, and it incorporates the techniques that our veterans have learned when they were in service, and it incorporates that for civilian use. It's streamlined, it's efficient. It's improved me a lot, because now I have more time to acquire my target and tension and all of that, and check tension sites to squeeze, and make sure that I'm still completely aware of my surroundings, and just making it methodical, making it almost robotic, making it to where it's reflexive, so that I have more time to actually process the situation around me, including really the legal considerations, which because of our litigious society, we really have to think about that now.
Yeah, because as a veteran, but I've been out for 10 years, and being a truck driver is very restrictive as far as having a handgun. And this is something I'm very interested in getting myself and kind of familiarizing myself again with handling firearms. But
that's one of the things too, because in the course you actually start out in learning about some of the legalities in the classroom, so that when you go onto the range and then when you go and do the airsoft training, you have that in the back of your mind, and you are using that as a part of your training, and you're reacting to that as well, and incorporating that into, okay, I'm processing this threat, I'm also recalling the legal training that I had, and recalling just the physical training that I had at the same time. These are all things that law-abiding gun owners have to think of when they're in that particular situation, because there have been situations where the criminal will sue the person that they were trying to hurt. There have been so many situations of that, and there are actually lawyers out there who will take that case. There are situations where you have a law-abiding concealed carrier, a law-abiding gun owner who is placed in a position where they absolutely have to use lethal force to save their life or the life of someone else, and the person who is trying to, even though that they were arrested and they're being charged, they're going to file a civil suit, or they're going to get on the news and they're going to say all these things about this person who acted heroically. And of course there are ambulance chasers that go out there and they're going to, let's go and sue. I mean, this happens more often than not, sadly, because of the litigious nature. Everyone wants to sue. The country's sue happy. So one of the things that NRA Carry Guard does is, in addition to getting the legal training, so for instance, low ready is a misdemeanor. If you're presented with a threat and actually pointing straight on, actually drawing down straight on, that's a felony. So these are things that you absolutely have to think about, because you're going to have to answer for every single one of those motions if, God forbid, you're called into a courtroom because you had to defensively use your firearm. And so it gets into that aspect. And then the insurance is amazing. It's the most comprehensive coverage that is out there, and also a legal repository, because when you look at, for instance, if you have something that happens, you call 911, and then the second call that you make is the number that's on the back of your NRA Carry Guard card. And so what happens is you're going to be connected with a lawyer who is in your area that has dealt with this situation. You're not going to be talking to some traffic attorney or anything like that, but you're going to talk with a lawyer who's in your area that's going to be able to give you that legal advice that you need. So I joke about it, like with Pulp Fiction, the wolf that cleans up the mess, that's NRA Carry Guard. They're sort of, they're right there for the law-abiding, defensive gun owner, defensive user in that particular situation. There's also money that can be used for cleanup. So when I went through my concealed carry training just to get my license in Texas, they let you know it's really expensive if someone breaks into your house and you have to use lethal force. It's really expensive to clean that up. NRA Carry Guard will cover that, so that's not a further injury to the victim that's already had to use lethal force to save their life. So there are many amazing benefits with NRA Carry Guard.
And I know you got to go. I just want to ask the general question as far as, so why protecting the Second Amendment is so important?
Because the Second Amendment is what gives teeth to every other natural right. Second Amendment is a natural right. So protecting our natural rights and keeping it from being abridged by man, for the lack of a better way to put it, I think it's incredibly important, because we need to make sure that we're able to protect ourselves. Think about this. Gonzales v. Castle Rock stated police don't have a legal obligation to defend your life. And I love our men and women in blue, but that Supreme Court case ultimately determined that they do not have a legal obligation to protect your life. In fact, there were 2 court cases that underscored that. Secondly, when you consider the average time it takes for law enforcement to get to your home, that's 20 minutes. My uncle was a deputy in southern Missouri, and it was a huge rural district, a huge rural county, and there were only a couple of deputies for that huge county, and you're talking a lot of mileage, a lot of curvy roads, and slow. I mean, it's nuts. And so you need to make sure that you're able to, you're your own first responder. You're the first person who's there on the scene, and you have to make sure that you're able to defend yourself, because you can't always count on someone being there to do so for you.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Brian, thank you.
Yep, and thanks to Dana Loesch for joining us. And, in that interview, and also just overall with the NRA Annual Meetings, it definitely was an experience and an education being there. And as I've said the past 2 episodes, it has made me want to definitely get more educated, get more proficient in just not only just trying to learn all about handguns in general, just the firearms that I have already, just to know that basic knowledge and to have more time to train with my firearms and just know more. And I'm definitely intrigued and definitely am more motivated to want to know more about basically just learning the basics really of self-defense and of firearms. And it's funny, in the beginning of that, when I mentioned about the tweet that I had talking about the article actually that I'm finishing up right now about my dad, because the article that I'm writing for Politichicks is about my dad being at the NRA Annual Meetings, and that basically was his first, for lack of a better term, gun show. So, and so I just kind of talked about his experience along, as with mine as well, and she was talking about NRA carry guard, and I was just looking at the benefits, and she mentioned a lot of the benefits as well. And for me, after one being there and then actually seeing everything as far that comes with the carry guard, I actually joined up myself. So and I just saw it as insurance for my insurance, basically, because having a firearm in itself is insurance in a way in case something happens, or for self-defense purposes. But then I need my insurance in case I did have to use my insurance, if you get what I'm saying. So, and I just think this is a real good program, and especially with the training as well. That was something that kind of stood out too, is that I would definitely look forward to doing some of the training when they have it available in the Dallas area. I'm guessing, given that the next annual meetings will be in Dallas, that they will have some training probably already set up beforehand, before next year. And so, but yeah, so I signed up for it. I think it's pretty good. There are 3 different levels. There's a bronze, silver, and gold level. And I signed up for the bronze personally. So, but if you got it, I'll say go for the gold. But yeah. So that is it of our interviews at the NRA annual meetings. And like I said just a few minutes ago, the next annual meetings will be in Dallas on May 3rd through the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. I think May 3rd through the 6th. Yeah, so I don't have to worry about trying to travel out there. I live in Dallas, so I definitely would have no problem going next year. So, and I still kind of wondering if we're going to do a show tomorrow or not. Maybe not. I don't know. But either way, I would just say until next time, which may be tomorrow or maybe next Tuesday, we'll chat with you later.